Welcome on in, Space Marine aficionados, and today we are going to be doing a side-by-side comparison of all three Space Marine Chaplains that was released by JoyToy not too long ago. So we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the Indomitus Chaplain, the regular Primaris Chaplain, as well as the Terminator Chaplain. And then we are going to be judging them on 5 different categories, same thing as the Primaris, which is the quality of the head, the armor, the weapons, the accessories, and finally articulation. The first place in each category will be awarded 3 points, second place 2 points, and then third place with 1 point. So at the end of this comparison video, we shall see who shouts the loudest litany. All right, folks, it is time for the side-by-side comparison, and we are going to be starting off with the regular Primaris Chaplain, evaluating the head area. So, what do we see over here? Obviously, there is a gorgeous looking hood, and there's some highlights up here. I really like the glowing red menacing eyes that are a nice contrast to the bleach bone white of the very imposing skull helmet here. And let's take a look at the Indomitus Chaplain right here. And what do we see? We obviously see a screaming face with a lot of emotion as he belts out his litanies of hate. There is a very well done mouth area, complete with very well defined lips, teeth, as well as tongue. And the final thing is that he's really got excellent metallic implants over here. As I said in the review video, he looked like the Terminator here. We are now going to move on to the third specimen right here, which is the Terminator Chaplain. So again, just like the Primaris Chaplain, you have the same burning red eyes. You almost have a very lifelike skull helmet, and with regards to just the skull itself, as you can see here, there's a lot of depth with shading. So what is my vote for the round of heads? Well, I have to give 3 points to the Primaris Chaplain, followed by 2 points for the Indomitus Chaplain, and finally 1 point to the Terminator Chaplain. All right, so the second category that we're going to be looking at is the armor of these lovely chaplains over here. Once again, we'll start off on the left-hand side with the Primaris Chaplain. So obviously with parts of the armor, you have these nice flowing robes in black that also have been highlighted. These robes really make this guy look like an executioner. I really like the grim dark skull designs that are on the knees as well as the arm area. However, I would have to say with regards to the rest of the chaplains, the armor looks, I don't know, seemingly a little bit plain and flat. So now we will move on to the Indomitus Chaplain. And the Indomitus Chaplain has a few things that the other chaplain does not have. So you have these subtle white highlights that make the armor jump out. And speaking of making the armor jump out, there is a nice usage of gold all over the place. These accents, again, really makes this thing even more come alive and catch your eye in a display case. That is my assessment of the Indomitus Chaplain. And now we are going to move on to the Terminator Chaplain. So speaking of gold, I will have to say the gold on this action figure really makes the dull black armor jump out. There is gorgeous iconography right here on the pauldrons with the laurels here in the skull, and as you flip around to the other side, there's the Crux Terminatus with more laurels. And I also think that the Terminator armor is obviously very unique looking with this hooded type area and these vents in the back. What is my assessment of the armor on these action figures? I'll have to give first place to the Terminator Chaplain, followed by the Indomitus Chaplain, and finally the regular Primaris Chaplain, which the breakdown of the score is now actually a dead tie with 4 points each. The next thing that we're going to move on to are the weapons. All right, to the left-hand side, we have the weapons of the Primaris Chaplain, the Indomitus Chaplain in the middle, and finally the Terminator Chaplain on the right-hand side. Once again, starting off with the Primaris Chaplain, you have this lovely Crozius, aka the Pimp Stick. It is simple but elegant in my opinion. that is topped with a spiked skull. There is a nice usage of silver, gold, and red. And then with regards to the Absolver bolt pistol, obviously this thing is 3 different colors with the usage of red, white, as well as silver. Now we're going to evaluate the weapons of the Indomitus Chaplain, and looks like over here we have the upgraded pimp stick. Why do I say upgraded? So this lower area looks very, very similar to the regular Primaris Chaplain, except that the Indomitus Chaplain has a skulled eagle or owl that's on top of it that makes this thing more unique and stand out. And then with regards to the Absolver bolt pistol, this thing uses not 1, not 2, but 4 different colors with the usage of gold, black, silver, as well as red for the casing. And there's this added detail of the purity seal over here. So I think that the usage of color is more bold and has more flair on top of it. The last thing that we're going to be looking at is obviously going to be the Crozius of the Terminator Chaplain. And this Crozius is more akin to the classic Crozius design with the skull as well as the wings and the halo up top. And there's even more skulls that are dangling down. Now taking a look at the Stormbolter, obviously it is red and silver in color. It's got this nice beefy looking drum and this very small gold accent over here. But I'll have to admit, for some odd reason, I think this Stormbolter seems a little bit dull in my opinion in terms of look compared to the Absolver bolt pistol. What is my final judgment with regards to the weapons? So I'm going to have to give first place to the Indomitus Chaplain, followed by second place with the Terminator Chaplain, and then third place with the Primaris Chaplain. So where does that lead us in terms of score? 5 for the Primaris Chaplain, 7 for the Indomitus, and 6 for the Terminator. All right, moving along, we are going to be taking a closer look at the accessories of these action figures, and obviously starting off with the Primaris Chaplain. He's got a nice looking half cape around the lower half. There is good usage of ribbons right here. The tome in the back here I really like and has extensive detail. I love the touch of the leather right here, as well as the extensive shading here within the pages of the book. However, I'll have to say that the tabard in front is a little bit plain, but at least that is broken up by the amulets that are here. So I'm going to put this down and take a look at the Indomitus Chaplain. And the first thing that I notice is this golden halo. It really makes this action figure jump out. And if you flip around to the other side, there are purity seals galore all over the place in the back. And moving on, his tome has a lot of unique detailing too. And I think that the silver amulets hanging down on the belt area provides a lot more contrast. And then last but not least, we have the Terminator Chaplain. And what can I say but skulls, skulls, and even more skulls. You have skulls on purity seals here. You have this gorgeous red cape that is on the back. And you have this area also that help attach the cape onto the back of the Chaplain. What is my vote in terms of the usage of accessories? So obviously I'll have to give a first place to the Terminator Chaplain, followed by the Indomitus Chaplain, and then finally rounding out with the Primaris Chaplain. Points-wise, that puts the Terminator as well as the Indomitus Chaplain in first place with 9, followed by the Primaris Chaplain with 6 points. And finally, we have come to the last category, which is the all-important articulation, because it puts the action in action figure. This Primaris Chaplain right here, he's got full range of movement up top. However, his movement is impeded by this cape right here. You can kick this area back a little bit, but you do feel a little bit of resistance. The Indomitus Chaplain, as you can see here, he's got no capes at all. So there is no restriction of movement whatsoever. So he's got full movement up top, as well as full movement down here with the legs. And finally, over here is the Terminator Chaplain. If you saw my review video, this guy is a beautiful paperweight. This guy's arms can barely move because of this placement of this pauldron. And then on top of that, the back movement of this guy is blocked by this cape over here, so you aren't able to kick this guy back. So there is a lot of restriction of movement on this action figure. So where does that put us in articulation? The best articulation is the Indomitus Chaplain, followed by the Primaris, and rounded out in the end by the Terminator Chaplain. Who is the supreme champion of the Chaplains? Well, that will go to the Indomitus Chaplain with 12 points, followed by the Terminator Chaplain at number 2 with 10 points, and rounding out the whole entire Chaplain detail is the Primaris Chaplain with 8 points. And so the side-by-side comparison of these 3 Chaplains have come to an end. Let me know what you think about the comparison in the comments below. I know that there are plenty of biases on these categories that I have rated, but to be honest, I am really actually pretty surprised at how this comparison turned out, because I did not think the Indomitus Chaplain over here would take the cake, and I really did not think the Terminator Chaplain would be number 2. In fact, I'll let you know that my personal bias did not actually come into this, because the one that I like the most out of all 3 of them is still the Primaris Chaplain over here. I just think that this very simple, kind of clean, elegant look about him really jumps out at me for some odd reason. But at any rate, this is just the second of very, very many upcoming side-by-side comparisons, so please look for more of them in the future. If you're interested in picking up any of these 3 Chaplains or all 3 of them, just click in the link in the description below, and do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next comparison.